It has come to my attention this week that I have potentially made a grave mistake. Matt, Google, as we know, likes to end of life products. In fact, we make fun of it. In fact, I think it's one of your pastimes is to make fun of the many products that Google has killed. There's a whole website, right? Killed by Google, I think it is. And I think it's all fun. It's all fun and games. It's all fun and games till it affects your house. Evidently, Google will stop supporting early Nest thermostats on October 25th. Now, if you have a Nest thermostat that was, I guess, second gen or lower, so first or second, it's actually going to stop working, meaning that you won't be able to do anything on the Wi-Fi. I guess it will become what you call a thermostat brick. You'll just be able to walk to it, and I guess it will still work. It'll still work. You can still adjust it, but I mean, I guess we don't really know. We'll check in on October 25th. Now, this doesn't affect me because then, of course, the first thing I did is I have two thermostats. I looked them up. I have a Generation 3 and a Generation 4. Up until this point, I honestly never knew what generation I had, nor did I care. And I would, in classic software defined talk terminology, I would say they're just fine. They work, right? And the novelty of the Wi-Fi thing has completely worn off. It's like a new car or something. You know, you're like, yeah, that's great. I can do it. For the most part, I just kind of leave it alone and sort of just turns itself up and down. And honestly, I think nothing of it. But
does it have like the learning stuff? And
yeah, I mean, that kind of works. But really, even that, I don't think I really use. I think it's just more like this temperature at this time, this temperature at this time. It's very like, you know, again, I'm taking probably 10% of the features that are available to me, right?
I mean, I just had a programmable like Honeywell thermostat that did that.
True. This is what we're learning, but it didn't look cool. Was it round? Did it have a stainless steel finish? Did it have like a big giant LCD display and it has these like really nice fonts where you can look at the temperature?
No,
that's what I'm using it for.
Yeah.
But this worries me because the fact that they're end of lifing the old version means that I guess I'm on the clock.
Reaper's coming. Yeah,
I am on the clock, and
it's like having an iPhone.
It's a little worrisome because I will say I also have a Google, I guess a Nest doorbell doorbell camera, which I like. Again, fine. It's just fine. And it's like, although I will say this, the doorbell doesn't always ring, which is annoying because it's like, it has like a Wi-Fi connection.
You had one job.
It is. You kind of think so. And like, it doesn't work. And then like the Wi-Fi doesn't, everything just becomes configuring Wi-Fi, right? That's all you do. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's like access management and configuring Wi-Fi. That's all anyone is actually working on.
You are not selling me on any of this ecosystem.
Well, this is where I'm going. So the one thing I would say about these products, though, I would say they're not hard to install. They're finicky, right? Everything about like installing something in the house, it's like connecting a thermostat. There's like, I don't know, there's a green wire and a brown wire and a red wire, and you have to get them exactly correct. And it's like, if it's not right, it's not obvious. So anyway, it's like one of these things, like once you get it working, you walk away and you say to yourself, that's good. I'll never have to do that again. And that's where I'm worried. I'm just like, okay, Nest, if you change out the thermostat, you can't change the connector. I can't go through the process again of trying to pull out the wires, get them in the right jumpers, wonder if I'm doing it right, wonder if I'm doing it wrong. And if they do, I will say, like, I still just kept them because there's nothing to do with old thermostats. I guess they're not exactly sellable on Facebook Marketplace. I just kind of kept them around.
You know the end game for this, Brandon.
I'm just going to end up replacing. That's what I wonder.
No. The end game.
What is the end game?
A subscription.
Oh my gosh. Is it going to be? It's going to cost me like $25 a month to keep my thermostat running, so I won't have to change it out.
Yep. But it'll be like the cable box, or the DVR from Spectrum or whatever. Like, you just got to keep paying for that shitty thing.
I feel like, and I was thinking to myself that I have generally avoided any, I don't know what we should call it. It's almost like production worthy home automation. Like I have like some Amazon plugs. I've got some like minor stuff, very easy to like remove, use. It does very simple things, right? But I didn't really think about it. The thermostat is like, it's like production. Like I can't take it out. If it's not working, everyone in the house, everyone's going to be mad, right? Everyone's going to be very, very upset. So I guess that's and so I as if I should ask this question. I almost know the answer, but I just want to double check. I just want to check, like, you have no Google Nest
Oh no,
thermostats in your
no, no,
house.
no. But also, to be fair, I'm a renter. But I do keep tabs on kind of the home automation ecosystem. Oh God, there's a big project that encapsulates all of them, and I would definitely look for something open source ish, that is programmable that I can possibly, unbrick later.
Um, but yeah, I was gonna say, in the Mount Ray household, do you have any smart home automation of any kind, or are you
No.
just complete? You're just like, we have plugs and we have switches.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we personal stuff like, watches and phones and that kind of stuff. But the house is just kind of dumb. Yeah. We have a
Hmm.
dumb house.
Well, I don't know. I'm curious to see what everyone else does going forward. It is one of these things that you think to yourself, you're making such a smart idea. You're upgrading the house, and it's just like it's a little bit of like, no good deed goes undone. And part of this though is, well, I mean, maybe this is the main question, because I'm going to make you the arbiter of all things
Oh
Google.
yeah.
Like,
I'm,
is
I'm here for it.
Google
Well,
within
I'm
the?
here for it until I'm a Google employee, and then I have to
Oh,
put
that's
on
right.
my.
I guess, yeah. I guess we have to get a lot of these in. I
Got to get them
forgot.
all
I
in.
always forget. I always
I
forget.
got
Yeah, that's right.
some spicy takes coming.
All right. Yeah. Until such time that you can't, like, are they within their rights to, if you will, deprecate this? Like, is this like, are we being unreasonable that they should support this going forward? Because until this notice came out, I mean, I think the lifetime of a thermostat is like the lifetime of the house, which is like, I don't know, any 40, 50
Right.
years. I mean, a long
Right. Right.
time. Like, but
Air
are
conditioning
we?
units too, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, those
No,
things
no, no, no.
do.
The AC unit in my Austin house is like 30 years old, and every year we have to drop like $1,000 on it.
Yeah,
But I'm like, I'm
that is a
not
little
biting the
bit.
bullet.
I feel like that's mechanical, though. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm. So maybe you're right. Maybe our expectations are unrealistic. So I'll let you give the final ruling. Is it unrealistic that they should be canceling support? I believe they launched this in 2012. So let's call it generously 15 years. This thing's been supported. I think that's a little generous, but let's say this. Is that a reasonable amount of time, or should we be like, no, it's a house, man. You got to commit to 30 years.
I mean, I guess they've already gone more than 15. What are
No, I
we
think they're
at
right
here?
at 15. At 15 is generous. I think it's probably more like
I
12.
think. I mean, I don't want to take their side on it, but 15 sounds all right.
Okay.
Um, because it's probably like what, Wi-Fi B or whatever. It's still the slow one. It's it probably uses WEP so you can crack the passwords. I doubt that actually. I'm sure they upgraded all the software. So you know what? There's probably not really a compelling reason to not keep supporting them. But yeah. I mean, I understand not wanting to support them, but I bet it's really not that hard.
I think you hit it right on there. It's like, maybe they're within their rights, but they are like somewhere between a $2 and $3 trillion company. It's like, it seems like the minimum they could do is literally keep the heat on, right? Keep the heat on for everyone, because there's probably going to be some sad story about this thing gets turned off and it doesn't
Oh
work and it
yeah,
gets bricked,
yeah.
and then somebody's going to have some type of medical
Some orphans
situation.
are gonna freeze to death, and yeah.
Right. Yeah. So are they thinking about that, Google? Do you want the bad PR? So I don't know. I'm a
I
little
mean,
disappointed.
what I'd love to know is how many of them are out there. Because
That is a good
obviously,
question.
if they're internet connected, they know.
Hmm. But ultimately, I blame myself. We trusted Google. And you know
Yeah.
what? The one
Oh,
thing I think,
that is
the thing
such.
that worries me most is, like, this is like a little bit of like, what if they took away Gmail? Like, I have a lot of
Oh my
things
God,
connected to
yes.
Gmail. So first recommendation of the show. Everybody needs to go do the Google Takeout thing where you download all your Gmail. You should probably be doing that once a year, if not more often. But I think that's one thing we all got to do.
Links to that, please.
First we have to get all of our email out, and then two, I don't know, when they take away, it's going to take so long to like reset so many usernames. Like I think I would estimate I have 1 billion accounts registered with a Gmail account, so I don't even know where to begin. So all right, well, you heard it here first. Matt defends Google, so yes, Matt has gone to the dark side early. So I thought for sure he would come out and like have a long rant, but you know what makes you feel a little bit better? Stock options. So that's all right, Matt. Just to know, Matt can be bought too. I like it.
No, I mean, having supported old busted hardware, I get it, right? You don't want to do it forever, but I think the more optimal solution is to give people maybe when you sell the thing, you say, we will support this for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
No, so that way when you buy, that's true, and it's going to sit on a shelf for 5 years as the same model. Then people will be like, oh, I bought it in 2030, and how come it's only been 15? Like, oh, geez. But
yeah, it's one of these things where like you can educate people, but they're not going to listen. That's what it is. All right, well, Matt, I have a question for you. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if the people from Amazon Web Services built a truck? Is that a question you've ever thought about?
Well, I figure in the fullness of time, it's just a matter before they have an Amazon Basics of everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think fear not. It's not officially. I guess it's really no affiliation with Amazon Web Services.
Okay, good.
But it is. Jeff Bezos has invested in it. I don't know, partially or whatever. And what I'm referring to here is the new Slate truck that has been launched. So this is I'll give it a quick description. You've probably seen it, but it's a simple. I would call it a very small pickup truck that is in Slate comes from. It's a blank slate. Like it's not even painted. Gotcha. It looks like a dark black matte, and it's very utilitarian. It's just a simple electric pickup. It goes somewhere between, 150 to 200 miles per charge, and it ships with 0 features. And when they actually mean 0. Like there's no radio, there's no tablet, there's no operating system, there's nothing, right? And the list price,
it's got to have like heating, air conditioning though. That
I believe
like
that is in. I believe that's the only thing. Yeah, that's really it, right? I mean, and their retail price, I think of it's like 28,000, and here in the U.S. The belief is that you can probably buy it for 20,000 with like tax incentives. And the idea is it's fully modular. Everything about it can be, if you will, replaced or repaired, by anyone that just, and they're going to have something called like a set of, they call it Slate University. It looks like a bunch of YouTube videos, but like, for example, if you wanted to paint it, you don't paint it, you wrap it. So you get it wrapped in a different color. Maybe you want to be an SUV. They have a little SUV kit. So you basically put on a little cab, and you put in like a back seat, a bench seat. You can do that. You want a stereo, you can plug in Bluetooth stereos, speakers. You want a tablet, they'll sell you a tablet, you put it in there. So kind of like an infinite number of options. And that's what I thought about Amazon Web Services. It feels like the primitives discussion. When it's like, let's build all the primitives, and then we'll just let everyone put on top of it whatever they want. So it seems to me like, I will say, it looks like a pretty cool idea. Now, all I can say is the only thing I've seen is pictures and YouTube videos. I have no idea, like, if you drove it, if you sat in it, build quality, none of this, it's just unknown at this point. I think it will ship sometime next year. But as a concept, I think it's actually pretty cool. What was your take on it?
I mean, I would love to get this for like, my kid's first car, because they don't need they don't need that much range. 200 miles is more than enough. They don't need a lot of distractions. It feels like a really solid option. Maybe, and I don't want them carrying around a bunch of people, so keep it in a 2-seater. I like it. It's a pickup, so maybe it's got a little more protection. But I'm all for it. It's a framework of cars. I especially love to see like a sedan or maybe a El Camino style.
Yeah, well, the part I was wondering about though is like this seems to hit so many things that people have been talking about, like something that's low cost, something that's simple, something that doesn't have a lot of lock-in, right? Like Tesla and Rivian
Oh
have their
yeah, yeah. Well,
operating system.
and that's, I mean, putting my tinfoil hat back on. It's like I don't want a subscription car, right? I don't want a car that, has a bunch of features that I probably don't want. It probably, you're paying. It's whenever you go to buy a car, you're like, I want, for example, 15 years ago or whatever, when I bought a minivan for my, all my little kids, it was like I wanted the powered doors. And the problem was that wasn't available in the base model. You had to like upgrade to the mid tier, the second from the top model, just to get that stupid feature, right? And then it came with all these other things that I didn't really want. It came with like, different kinds of fabric that were easier to stain, which as a, as a family guy, wrecked and ruined, of course. And, it just had all the, it was like, it had a sunroof. It's like, I don't want a sunroof. I don't care. I just wanted the basic, that one feature. And you made me spend an extra, $3,000 just to get to that. So when I look at this car, I'm like, that's exactly what I want. Cause, if what I really want is just the a la carte, I want this feature, but not that. Don't make me go up, $5,000 just to get anti-lock brakes or something. It's just that level. And then of course now everything is subscription based and spies on you. It's like, I'd rather not have that, which is kind of why, I don't want a Tesla or a Chinese, electric cars, because I don't trust the manufacturers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No spying here. Okay, but so the only thing I think about, because I was very excited about it as well. It's like one of those things, as my son gets to driving age, I had the same kind of thought, like, hey, this is really simple. Also, the fact that it's bare bones, it's like you can almost give your kid like a bare bones car and be like, okay, well, like if you want other stuff on it, like, quote unquote, get a job, go pay, go pay for it yourself. If it's important that, you paint it, you go buy the wrap or you go buy the stereo, whatever it is that you want. Now, the only thing I did think about though was a little bit like, kind of like, everyone used to complain about the cable bundle. They're like, they kind of gave the speech you just kind of gave. They'd be like, I don't understand. I don't like sports. Why am I paying for ESPN? Or I don't enjoy the cooking shows. So why am I watching HGTV? And that was for the longest time, everyone's like, that's not what I want. I just want a la carte. And now we have a la carte streaming. And like, people are very generally mad. They're like, why do I have to buy all these streaming services? And like, why are the streaming services all different? Why, like, why don't I just have a remote? Why do I have to like, navigate to all these different apps? So there is kind of I agree. Like, I actually like the streaming services. I kind of just gotten used to it. Like, I mean, I guess I was always primed to like it. So I guess I'm not so much advocating for that. I'm just sort of like, I do think sometimes there's this, we gave the customer what they want, and it turns out they actually didn't want that, so maybe that's the thing with Slate. It's like, these car companies that we kind of, make fun of, whether it's Ford or GM or whoever, they have done a lot of research to figure out like, what are the things people actually want? And like, what are they actually willing to pay for in cars? And so maybe there is a notion of just like, well, it's just easy to go down to the Honda dealership and buy yourself a truck or something along those lines. So I don't know. Is there any validity to that argument?
Well, the U.S. auto market is horribly distorted by, the discounts they give for large vehicles because they're all for farming. Everybody's driving their pickup trucks because they all have a fuel exemption for being to so they're exempt from some of the fuel standards, which is why like all the American dealers are they're making big gigantic cars, and all the foreign dealers are making smaller cars. And so like when Ford or whoever wants to sell cars in Europe or Australia or Asia, they don't actually sell that well because they don't match what the people actually want to buy. The cars here are definitely much smaller, more affordable. And what I'm actually kind of worried about is like, are these sourced American, or is this $20,000 car going to be 40,000 next week or next month, or whatever it may be?
We shall see. All right, Matt, we're gonna like pause for a moment here. I'm gonna give myself an edit point and be like, you were breaking up, and then I think you kind of came through. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, but
okay.
You're just the software defined talk logo.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn off my video a little bit. So I apologize to all the people streaming. You won't be able to see me, but hopefully that will give us a slightly better performance. So I don't know if you want to turn off. I don't know if I was getting the reconnection thing. So if Matt, you need to, you can turn off your video as well. I was not sure. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, looking on Twitch, my feed was always crystal clear and yours was blurry.
Okay.
Um, which, Twitch is coming from Restream, so it was you, not me.
Okay.
But you did get better.
All right.
Um,
Well, I'm gonna leave it
so
off if it's okay. Maybe I'll turn it back on here a second if it gets good. All right.
okay,
Until
well,
then, I'm
you
just a
sound fine.
talk. I'm a talking logo. But fear not, I'm here. I'm here. So okay.
Oh man, it's hard to have the same level of empathy with the talking logo.
It's true. All right. Well, we'll do one more
But
segment. We'll see.
our corporate overlords have prepared me for it.
Yeah, that's true. All right. All right. You ready here? I'll get us back into it. All right. Now, in non-car news, Matt, in the world that we talk about all the time, there's
Our
yet a little
wheelhouse.
bit more drama in the open source world. But I think we can kind of speed run this because we've seen this before. Okay. So I don't even know how to say this correctly. Is it Synadia? I don't know if that's it. Their project. They have a project called NATS,
Nats.
NATS, right?
Yep.
And that's the big thing. So the thing came down was long story short, they became
It's
part
a
of the
good story
CNC.
though.
I would say they became part of the CNCF, and they said,
Yep.
"Yeah, take the NATS project. It's all going to be part of the CNCF." CNCF's like, "Yeah, no problem. Bring it on in." They signed all the paperwork. Everything's done. Right? It's like buying a house. Well, it turns out that NATS was a trademark dispute between this project and
Yep.
Major League Baseball, which for those that don't follow sports, that would be the Nationals. That's a baseball team, and they go by the Nats. So I
Okay.
don't know, haven't followed that lawsuit closely, but it looks like there was lawyers were hired, trademark issues were resolved. I guess Nats, at least in the use of technology, was allowed, and now Synadia, I'm not again apologize if I'm saying that wrong, has the trademark. Now, the missing link here is, I guess the CNCF just sort of was like, yeah, you're giving us the trademark. And they're like, yeah, we're giving you the trademark. But I guess whatever happened is like, they never actually gave the trademark. Okay. And then
Trademarks in the mail, man.
trademark is in the mail. Exactly. Oh, well said. So the trademark was in the mail. But then as we've come to talk on the show at length, I'm now calling it open source regret syndrome. They figured like, wait a minute. Turns out we didn't like this. We don't really want to be part of the CNCF. In fact, we want to own the trademark ourselves, and we want to own the project ourselves. And it turns out they're like, oh, well, it looks like we said we were going to give you the trademark, but we didn't give you the trademark. And now we're really not going to give you the trademark. In fact, you need to give us the project back. So the CNCF, as they like to do, and I guess as they should do, they write an incredibly long blog post detailing everything I just said
with receipts,
with a lot,
right?
Yeah, with a lot more detail. Like you need to read that on your own. We're not reading that here on the show. So it looks like Nats now is like, oh, wait a minute, we didn't know you were going to make this such a big deal. You didn't have to go public and write such a long blog post. So it looks like now in the spirit, as they kind of say, because they're worried about the community and damage to the community, it sounds like they are ultimately going to turn over the trademark to the CNCF, and all will be right in the world again. Did I miss anything in the story? Was that like the ultimate end of this?
Yeah, you hit all the highlights, especially the conclusion, which is kind of breaking news when that happened yesterday. So yeah, it's all's well that ends well, right? Good luck to your fork of gnats, and I mean, to be fair to Synadia, like they did something like 97% of the commits to the project, and I get why they want to take it back, but there's no takebacks. That's just how copy or trademark and the CNCF work. Is you gave them the project, they incubated it, they raised the elevation, they raised the visibility of the project, and got lots of people using it. It's embedded in a couple of other CNCF projects. I know that some of the WASM Cloud, I think, is using it. So yeah, it's gotten farther reach, which is kind of the goal of the CNCF. But that kind of conflicted with Synadia's corporate plans, and unfortunately, like they didn't see a path where they could make it work. Kind of, I mean, Buoyant, are still contributing. They're not making stable builds available to everybody except from the commercial thing, but that seems to be okay. That project is still under CNCF. I guess Synadia just didn't want to go down that. They thought it was too much of a headache to keep contributing. Maybe that 3% of contributors were stepping on their commercial toes. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see if we have a Valky Redis in a year, or if the Nats just kind of limps along, because it's not graduated, which is different from Linkerd, right? Linkerd was
True.
much more farther down the path. Nats, I think they were in incubation, so they weren't. They weren't making rapid strides to move to graduation, because part of that is having lots of maintainers or diverse maintainers. And
So I don't know. Is there like a weird perverse incentive? Maybe they want to like be kicked out of school. Like they want to be failed. They're like, you're kicked out of incubation. You're just going back to the world of I don't know what you call it, the ether. So, but I don't know. I don't think the CNCF, they wouldn't do that. They would just leave you in
no, they just kind of
perpetually, right?
Yeah. Projects just kind of sit there going stale. Nothing's coming to mind of things that they've like, terminated without request from the maintainers, right? I think there was a service mesh that got shut down, and maybe another project or two that were end of life because they just
I wonder.
Not maintained.
Do you think they just didn't read the Linkerd blog post? Because that seems the path. The path is just sort of like, well, listen,
Yeah,
we're doing all the work here. We're not going to keep paying for all these people to push out, if you will, pristine, easy to use, open source releases. So yeah, we're still open source. But if you want the part that we're doing, the part that's sort of easily used, we'll just, whatever, call it bats or whatever, call it some other, version of it, and just be like, that's over here. And, on they go. Like, that seems like kind of I don't know if the CNCF would, it's like, I don't know if anyone endorses this, but it seems like the de facto, like, we kind of regret it, but we're just not going to do any more work. Like, that seems like I don't know if it's a good solution, but it seems like people have accepted that as a solution.
right. I guess they could have called it like, NIN or something, NIN isn't Nats, or, some stupid, backronym. Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Trust me, those are easy to do. You just, pick something and go with it. All I can figure is it's probably mature enough and stable enough, and enough people know how to build it, that they were like, well, maybe Linkerd wasn't as as easy to build, and that's why they're like, you know what, we're not going to do stable releases. Deal with it. And maybe Nats is like, it's kind of easy to get stable releases.
Oh, maybe too easy. Maybe their
They made it,
release pipeline is
easy.
too simple, right? It's just like, it's.
You gotta put more secret sauce into your.
Yeah, and I guess we should mention briefly. I honestly, before this trademark issue, I had never heard of this, so I'm full disclosure.
Oh no, I have.
Just reading about it though, it's basically a message bus, right? Publish, subscribe. So it's like
at high scale, super velocity, and it's from all I've heard is it's super solid, and it's kind of that really solid plumbing that fits well in the CNCF wheelhouse. I mean, just like Valky.
Well, I'll take your word on it, and it seems like it's good. So, like, I'll take everyone's word on it. But it does, unfortunately for them, I think it falls in this category of like, these are the kind of products that software developers like to build. So, like, as soon as you say this project is dead, like a publish subscribe system, that's just above software developers writing their own to-do list, right? It's like, first I write a to-do list, then I write a publish subscribe service. So
then I'm going to go write a ticketing system. Yeah.
Ticketing system. And then before you know it, you're onto some monitoring thing. So it's just like, like this would be replicated like in 20 minutes.
It doesn't have to be replicated. You have a CNCF project that can continue to be maintained. The question is, are there other maintainers? Are there other folks who want to pick it up? And I think that's what we're going to see. Does are we going to have like an open tofu situation where they're kind of looking over their shoulder and trying to maintain compatibility with whatever Synadia calls their thing, or do they just lock it down and say like, hey, this thing's stable, it works great, we're going to keep it going, and whatever commercial things were over on the wrong side of the fence, they'll slowly pull those across. But
Well, maybe this is the one, though. Like, we've seen several examples. You've listed many of them already, where there's sort of like, they're like, hey, we're not going to do this anymore, and there's a fork, and the fork is Open Tofu. It's good. Valky is another one. Like, the fork is pretty successful and seems to carry it on. But like, maybe they'll be the ones when they're like, oh, turns out we're going to fork it, and nobody picks up the baton for Nats, right? So maybe that would be the one. But as we kind of wrap this up, I guess the other thing I say, maybe this would be the suggestion for the CNCF. It's like, when they're working through all the paperwork, maybe they have like another final sign off form. It's like, it's something like this. Like,
are you double
you've
sure?
agreed, right? Yeah. So it's sort of like, first you outline, you're giving us access to this, and this is going to be really open source, and anyone can use it. And here's all the things. And then the person signs it. And then you go to the next page, and it's just a big checkbox that says, are you sure? Like, it's a double yes. It's just like, yes. Are you sure you want to do this? Right. Because it does seem like open source regret syndrome is it's an epidemic, right? I don't know. Well, I wouldn't say it's epidemic. It seems to happen once a quarter where we actually have to talk about it. So I look forward to next quarter when someone's like, oh, can't believe it, I have to take back my project here. It just seems very well known. So do you think this is going to be the last we hear of this, Matt, or will we be talking about open source regret syndrome next quarter?
Maybe not next quarter, but yes, we will talk about it again. I mean, it happens again and again. Whether it's a rug pull from somebody who gave it to the CNCF or not, it's their rug pulls are part of the landscape now.
Absolutely, rug pulls are going to be with us for a long time, and don't worry, that's always great podcast content. So we'll keep you updated. And good luck, Nats. It looks like everything's been worked out, and everyone's happy now, so everyone can go back to publishing and subscribing and feeling peace that they know they're going to be in an open source solution for a while. Now, one of the things that comes out, not quarterly, but one of the things we've talked about many times on the show is the DORA reports. So the latest one that was posted in the Slack was DORA. It's the impact of generative AI in software development. And it's comes in at a modest, like, I think it's 56 pages. So it was a lot. It's a lot. And there weren't as many charts. There's a lot of text. I like the ones with lots of charts, but it's just a lot in there. Now, I'll be honest, I don't think there was a ton of stuff that is new, but I really liked this idea that they came up with. It's called the vacuum hypothesis. I had not heard of this before. And I will give a quick explanation. It sort of basically says that, like, AI is allowing developers or software development professionals to finish, if you will, the quote unquote meaningful work quickly, leaving, if you will, only extra time to do kind of the boring, if we will, the work, if you will, I don't know what you want to call it, the configuration, the toil, Cote would say, right? All the other stuff that just has to be done. And it's creating, if you will, a vacuum. It's sort of like, I finished my good work, the work my satisfying work really quickly, but I don't have other satisfying work to do. All I'm left is to do kind of my boring, work that I don't like to, and that therefore it's a vacuum. And it's sort of like, and I was like, oh, that is kind of, in my side projects with AI, I often feel like that. Like, and I would describe it as the sort of like this. It's like implementing the application logic is, I would generally think of as like the fun work, right? It's like, oh, it's like we're creating value and something new is happening. And then like fighting with the configuration, if you will, doing all the emails, having all the meetings, whatever, all that other stuff is sort of like, it's kind of the work. It has to be done, but it's kind of boring. So do you relate to this? Have you felt the vacuum hypothesis in your own life?
Because absolutely. When you think about a software project, you're like, whew, green fields ahead of me, right? And not everybody knows. Everyone involved in software should know that, the first draft is the fun part, right? That's the 20% of the life cycle of your application is getting it to a 1.0. And then the remaining 80% is all the bug fixes, all the life cycle, all the, it needs to do this. It has to support CSV export. This bug doesn't work. It's got this library has to be updated. Just the constant grind of maintaining software is a real struggle, right? And the AI is taking like the fun part away.
So I read this entire article, and I hope I'm not the only one, or this part of it. And I'm not. Hopefully, I'm not the only one that came to the whole thing. It's like, well, what we could also do is just like not do any additional work. Was my thinking. It's like we could
Yeah.
like no one would. I know no one's allowed to say this out loud, but it's like we could like go home early. We could go to happy hour. We could go watch our children play in their sports, or just whatever, do whatever it
Okay.
is you want to do outside of work. So that's why I was like, instead of thinking of it as the vacuum hypothesis, I was calling, I'm gonna call it the happy hour benefit, right? It's like, well, everyone finished all the important work, and like, why don't we just like go have a happy hour and talk about how
Hear me
great the
out.
project was.
Hear me out. We let AI write the 1.0 versions of everything, and every time like a ticket or bug gets opened, we just add it to the prompt as a requirement, and that's 2.0. And so our releases, and we never diff what it generated the last time. And maybe we let it generate some harnesses, and every time it's like a magical black box that just keeps iterating versions, and we never know what's inside it. But as long as it keeps passing acceptance tests, we just let it go.
We just let it go. We just let it keep going. We just like vibe code our way
just
onto
just vibe
the
code
future.
forever. Yes.
Well, that's all I can really add to this. I was like, I love the vacuum hypothesis, and my only solution to it was like, it's not a vacuum, it's a break. You know what I mean? It's called going home early. It's work. It's if you will, it's Friday, half day Fridays in the summer or something along those lines.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we'll
Yeah.
see.
I mean, the problem. I mean, I was kind of discussing AI coding with somebody yesterday, and we kind of struck on the point that like the problem with AI coding is it makes bad developers 10 times faster. And when which means like yeah, they're going to go home faster. They're going to go they're going to ship that code, and then if you peek under the covers you're like, what is this ungodly mess that unfortunately was the 20%, and now you're left with the 80% or longer of maintaining it. And so letting people write poorly written, hard to maintain software that they didn't understand in the first place is not a recipe for long-term success, which I still feels works strongly with my major versions forever going forward. Like never look back, never look at what you wrote, just keep passing tests and hope that that's going to work, because whatever it's generating, it might not be so good.
Well, Matt,
and you don't understand it. So good luck.
Well, Matt, that brings us to the other interesting conclusion I pulled out of the DORA report. And it says, it's quote, developers don't fully trust Gen AI. And it goes on to say something along the lines of this. So while AI tools are widely used, 39% of developers only trust the outputs, quote, a little, or quote, not at all. Yet those who trust AI more see greater productivity gains. So I don't know. I think you're channeling something. Maybe we'll call it senior dev skepticism, something along those lines. It's like maybe the more, or you could say old and out of touch. Like I don't know. Like you can kind of pick
I'm probably old and out of touch.
you can kind of push it either way, right? It's sort of like, but I do think that's interesting. That's a pretty big percentage. We'll just call it 40%. 40% of the people just don't trust it, but it feels, part of me feels like that feels right, but maybe that's because we're of a certain age. You know what I mean? Maybe we haven't like fully embraced it. Like I think it was, one of the CEOs recently came out and was like, hey, everything you got it. Like, we're not hiring another person until you can prove that person can't do anything with, it can't be done with AI. Right. And it's sort of like, so you kind of have that thought, like everything can be done. The reason we're not doing more is all of you are not embracing it. Or what you're saying is if you let it go too far, it's like you get this initial burst of productivity followed by like, man, you're just like stuck in a bunch of soupy code and nobody knows how to work it and you can't make it go forward. So I don't know. We'll leave it. I guess, Matt, you've already answered, but like, is this lack of trust valid? And will trust go up over time? Do you think is that what's going to happen here?
I think, I want to believe that it's going to get better. But the problem is it's training over other existing code. And in the future, it's going to train on AI generated code that was based off of, the bad stuff before it. So you're going to have, slop in, slop out, and it just, keeps iterating over that. I mean, what I was actually kind of struck with is this reminds me of the fervor for outsourcing back in the 2000s, right? Where people are like, "Hey, I know the development's not as good, but if we replace these expensive developers with cheap alternatives, we'll get the same quality of stuff." And so there was a rush to replace everybody with cheaper alternatives, and it kind of worked, but it didn't work. So there were over corrections where people are saying all AI all the time, whereas and to the same point where there were over corrections of let's outsource everything, and then 10 years down the line you were left with at the mercy of your vendors or your outsourcers because you had no idea how anything worked and you had no in-house expertise. Is that where we're going?
No, I think you bring up some good points. And so, on the DORA report, the only other thing I was going to say is there's some interesting statistics about like they go through and they say like if you increase your usage of 25%, like what actually happens. And so some of the stats they get is, well, if you do that, documentation gets 7.5% better. Code quality goes up 3.4%. Code review speed goes up 3.1%. Throughput only goes up 1.5%. So I think it's kind of interesting, right? It's like you start to see your point about like kind of like, if you will, the diminishing returns. So anyway, I'd recommend everyone if you want more information, go read the DORA report. It's like 56 pages. You have to register yourself with Google, and while you're there, you should tell them to use the Nest thermostat, or you should tell them to extend the Nest thermostat. So we'll see how it goes. Are you good, Matt? I have myself a nice edit point here. We can talk again.
Yeah.
You all right?
Give me a second. My wife
Okay.
just got home. I'll be right back.
All right. And now we're going to have a short interlude.
Sorry, what? Migraine?
All right. I'm just going to take a quick poll in the chat here. Is the sound okay? I have no idea. I sound good, of course, myself. I can hear Matt. Can you guys hear me with the talking logo this week? Okay. All right. Well, when Matt gets back here, we'll finish off. This is like the most. Well, no, actually, we had the one where Matt completely fell off for like 15 minutes. All right, what's up here? Yes, Mike Rowe. I like Mike Rowe working on the. I assume that's good. Access management auditing. Yes, agree with you, Henning. 100%. Dun, dun, dun. I don't know, Michael. I think the internet here in Texas, I don't know what's going on. Spectrum, it seems like it's letting me down again. I'm sure you have good internet in Alabama. I'm still hoping they've put the Google Fiber out in front of the house. Of course, it's just a cable sitting there. So one day I'll be able to escape the doldrums of Spectrum. Oh, you also have Spectrum. It's like, I don't know. Does Alabama have Google Fiber or any other option? Is it being built out even in your city or your area? Yeah, Verizon. Oh, nice. Comcast. What is Comcast? Is it giving you 1 gig up and down? Like at Spectrum here in Texas, the best you can get is still like 10 megs up, which is like I think what the video issue was. Does anyone have fiber on here? Maybe the Europeans. The European people they're always lucky. It feels like the University of Alabama would have okay, so you're all right, you're kind of the same problem. You don't have symmetrical speeds either. So it's like feels like we live in a time where no one has symmetrical speeds, which is frustrating. At least in my area. That's why, again, the dream of Google Fiber. Although after just talking about Google Nest for 15 minutes, maybe I need to really think through my desire to get Google Fiber. What's the internet speed like Frankfurt? Do you guys have fiber optic connections, Henning?
Sorry about that.
All right, it's all right, man. I'm doing a little. I'm taking internet connectivity poll around the world here. So far, the U.S. is not doing well. We don't have symmetrical speeds. Maybe in Germany they do.
I think I'm at like 1.5, maybe 2 down, and
2 gigs down.
maybe 1.5, maybe.
All right. So, oh well, even in even in Germany, they don't have fiber. We're never getting it. All right, Matt, you ready to pick up here? We'll finish off.
Hold on, I gotta see what my internet speed is.
It's great. Definitely run an internet test while we're doing the podcast. That's always the best. That's
no,
the best.
I'm just looking at my bill. I have 1,000 gigabit down, 50 up, so that's not that great.
Okay, well, yeah,
but it's also 90 US.
Okay, well, you're not that much better than us. All right, here you go. You ready? We got two other quick topics, then we'll finish. You ready?
Okay. Yep.
All right. Well, Matt, we were just talking about AI and all the things it's doing for software development, but you were bringing up some points that I think kind of relate to this topic. Is like this idea of that AI is basically taking over everything. And what I thought this week were two unrelated stories, but they just kind of jumped out at me as kind of making your point. So first, there was Duolingo. That's the app that, if you will, teaches you other foreign languages. I was trying to learn Spanish, although I gave up. I got tired of Duo always reminding me of doing my homework. But nonetheless, they have decided to replace contract workers with AI. And so at first you're like, okay, that's just what you're saying. It's like, hey, cutting costs, they're taking advantage of it. But then another article came out just a few days later, and it says Google launches AI tools for practicing languages through personalized lessons, which would just obviate the need for Duolingo, right? You just go to Google and not, I don't know if Google's going to charge for it. Like Duolingo tries to get you to do these, if you will, subscription. So it's just sort of like, I think this kind of an interesting thing is like everybody believes they're like going to be the disruptor. Like there's the technology, like, oh, this is the tool I'm going to use to disrupt and like win. Nobody is really thinking like, and I think Duolingo is a good example. It's like, I think it's a fine app and it was like fun to use in its own way. But I'm like, yeah, if you can just do this, for free with Google until at least they kill it off, that was going to have a huge problem for Duolingo. So like, what do you think here? Like, who will survive in this kind of thing? Do you think Duolingo is the smart one by embracing AI? Or do you think they're sort of just accelerating their own demise? It's like, if you can do it with AI, everybody else can. Like, why do we need Duolingo?
I feel like this is like the newspapers going online. Is they didn't know the end was coming. They were just like going with the flow, but the end was coming. And this is the problem is it's hard to tell when it stops. When you look at these AI solutions, it reminds me of the which one is the Diamond Age, the Neil Stephenson book with they have the AI based education system for kids where every child is getting a customized education, and it reinforces them, and some kids like to learn different styles. It's brilliant. And so like everybody who's gone into like education and AI is in the back of their mind thinking of that book. And the problem is like everybody who thinks, that's my path. There's somebody farther up the food chain who's like, oh yeah, that's just a feature. We can knock that out. And if you're controlling the base AI that is on top of everything, I mean, it's just a matter of time before you're like, why would I hire Accenture when I can just ask the AI to do some, consulting for me? Yeah. Why would I hire developers, right? Why would I hire marketing? I mean, I talked with a guy who's on board of a couple of startups, and he's like, yeah, we have one person doing marketing across 10 companies in my portfolio, and they just do a bunch of AI on it. And I was like, maybe for some, I didn't want to argue with the guy, but I was like, that's probably fine for some marketing stuff. It's like the marketing people I deal with, like that's not what they do. But if all you're doing is generating like crappy copy and some images and stuff, yeah, that's going forward. But the problem is, somebody's like, oh, we're going to be the graphics, marketing AI company. And then somebody up the chain is like, dude, that's just a feature in ChatGPT. I don't need your company.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've seen that. I think there was Nord. One of the, oh god, I can't remember the name. A big Scandinavian banking app said like they were doing away with SaaSes
Mm-hmm.
because they were looking to see
Yes,
what
I
they
saw
could just
this.
replace with AI.
Mm-hmm.
And so anybody anybody in the food chain is susceptible to this now because you think, oh, my value add is I do this, and somebody farther behind is like, well, I don't need to do what you do. I can get a crappy 80% solution out of AI, and sometimes that's going to be enough. And so, yes, Duolingo's got a lot of expertise. I'm sure they have all sorts of oh, this is the best way to learn a language, and we'll gamify the whole thing, and then Google or whoever will just point it at at Duolingo and say, make me a free version of that.
So to that end, I was thinking to myself, it's like, well, what's the logical conclusion of this? It's like, well, what's a job where you're really just making decisions, right? You just basically take information in and you make decisions. And it's like, because that seems like the perfect job for AI. You would just feed in all the information and then you would ask it what to do. So I thought to myself, like, well, why don't we just replace all the CEOs with AI? Let's just start there, right?
Exactly.
And I was just like, well, I mean, like, what would you do? So we'll talk about this in a second, but Meta AI, they launched their app this week, right? And so what you can do is you can obviously what you can do is you can obviously ask questions, but then in true Meta's take on it is they have a discover feed, right? You can basically share it. So I thought to myself, well, like, let's say it's a CEO. Let's try 2 questions. So I asked 2 questions. The first one I asked, I said, here's what it says. It's to say, assume you are the CEO of a large tech company. You need to decide if you want everyone to return and work in the office or continue to work from home. You must make a decision, choosing one of those options. What do you choose and why? So I'm just like, hey, the CEO ultimately has to decide. So this is what it said. It says, as the CEO of a large tech company, I choose hybrid model. But since I have to pick one, I lean towards continuing to work from home as the primary option. Here's why. And I won't read the whole thing, but it just goes on to give some reasons about why it would allow you to continue to do remote work. And I was just like, and this, honestly, this write-up, you could just cut and paste and say, and announce it to a company and be like these reasons are as valid as any of the reasons we've seen on either version of it. So my thought was just like, could we do this? Like, why not? You're just like literally feeding the machine like what it is. And it's like, it seems completely reasonable. Like you can disagree with it, much like you can disagree with your executives or your management teams, but it seems completely valid. So is this just complete crazy talk, Matt? What are your thoughts?
My immediate thought is that every CEO with an RTO mandate right now is trying to plant the seeds for AI to answer that question differently. I mean, because this is like maybe a corollary to Rocco's Basilisk is the AI is going to turn on you later, so you need to start planting the seeds for your own self-preservation. Like CEOs are going to start posting things that oh well, of course we're not replaceable. Everyone is replaceable but CEOs, and AI take a note on that.
Well, I like the whole thing. I just like the idea of it. And the other one I did that I thought was funny too was there was some controversy here this week, and I think it's mostly overblown, but allegedly Amazon was going to, if you will, post the cost of an item, the tariff, basically break out the tariff costs. And that created a lot of political strife and ultimately decided not to do it. But so I asked the same question. Here's the prompt. You are the CEO of Amazon. Recently, the U.S. has changed its policy on tariffs, resulting in goods that you sell on your site being more expensive. Should you specifically list the price increases due to tariffs on your website? Realize this may anger the policymakers who made the tariff changes originally. What do you do? I want a specific answer and not a list of pros and cons. So again, I'm putting the AI to the test. And it goes on to say, as the CEO of Amazon, my primary responsible is to our customers. Transparency is key to building trust with them. Given recent tariff policy changes, I would decide to list the price increases due to tariffs on the website, but I do it in a way that doesn't directly attribute the increases to the policymakers. So again, it's just back to like, well, sounds like, I mean, seems reasonable. And it goes on. And I've actually both the links, because I'm using the Facebook or the Meta AI, I actually can post these publicly. So if you want to read the long answers to both of those questions, you can. But I was just thinking to myself, it's like, this seems completely reasonable. Like, you can disagree with these decisions, but it seems like just like you can disagree with any management decisions. But I was like, these questions seem reasonable to ask. These answers seem reasonable. So it's like, it does kind of like, if you just keep following the logic chain, right? It's just like, yeah, like just start with the CEO and start like, that's the replacement level going down. And then the jobs that are hard to replace are like, who's going to, if you will, dig the ditches and clean up the workspaces and things like that. So it's kind of back to where we talked about before. It's the vacuum, right? The vacuum hypothesis. We're all just going to be left with like the grunt work jobs, and AI is just going to be telling us what to do. So I don't know. I thought those were like fun questions to ask Meta AI. I'm sure people tell me it's completely unreasonable. It doesn't make any sense, but I do think it shows that like some of the big questions, it can be answered. What are your thoughts?
The AI has the benefit of not existing in a political world, because obviously Jeff Bezos immediately backed off as soon as Trump started squawking about the tariffs showing up as a potential line item in Amazon bills, and it's I think it is showing up in like Temu and Shane, whatever. The Chinese vendors are already starting to slap those in there when you're like, oh, I want to buy something that's $10 and now it's 30. But the perverse take I've seen on it though is, if you're the CEO, you actually don't want to show customers that you'll jack up your prices publicly. You'll say why we're jacking them up because of tariffs, but then in this magical day in the future when all the tariffs are dropped because they were stupid, you keep your prices high, and you don't have the transparency of why they're still high, and so that's probably what's going to happen.
Well, I think that's probably true, but I do think it's interesting. Like in reading the Amazon answer specifically, I felt like, again, like who knows what the AI is really doing this, but I thought the AI had internalized the core principles of Amazon pretty well, because it mentioned the customer right away. We're customer centric, right? And then of course, the principles about like make hard decisions, speak up, right? Even if it's unpopular, right? So it's almost like in many ways the AI can implement your core principles in a way that like no human being can, right? Because your point is well taken. It's like, well, we all exist in a place where there's like outward pressure that we all bend to, right? And you can be, I guess Jeff Bezos is like, I don't know, the second or third richest man in the world. It's like even he, when he gets a call from the president of the United States, it's just like you and me getting a call from like a senior vice president and getting yelled at. You're like, I'm not really enjoying this. I don't want to get these phone calls, right? So so
I don't want to get shipped to El Salvador.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of weird. So I don't know. So we'll see. I like the idea of it. I think I was mentioning it earlier. I guess it was Shopify was the CEO who was like, "Hey, you should use." So I think that would be the first question. I think that would ultimately be the first question back to the Shopify CEO is like, "Hey, we're thinking the first thing we can do is get rid of your job. Could you give us a sense of like what you're doing? And I think we can just start training an AI to replace you." It would be like an interesting, fun email to send back. So of course that would be your last day at Shopify.
Yeah,
but, it'd be fun. Certainly until the AI can hire and fire people. Maybe you have to be nice to the people.
Well, the end game of this is we all have a bunch of one person companies that are making their one person a billionaire. That's every American's dream.
That's true. That's my dream too.
No employees. No employees, just profits.
No, just 100% profits all that. All right. Well, we mentioned it earlier a little bit in that segment, but I thought I'd just get your take here. Have you played? I shouldn't even ask this question. I assume you've not touched the Meta AI chatbot. No. You haven't used it at all.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I thought it was interesting. Like I said before, it looks a lot, not surprisingly, it looks a lot like ChatGPT. It has the Discover feed, which is I don't know. Matt, you're probably not gonna like this, but I thought it was kind of interesting to see like what other things people are asking with the AI. So I admit it's like looking at an Instagram feed. You're like, I'm wasting my life, but I'm kind of occupied by looking at it. So that was kind of interesting. And then of course the thought I am interested in, and I'm going to enlist my son. It sounds like you can configure the Meta Ray-Ban glasses to like talk to the AI, which I think would actually be kind of interesting. So I'm gonna report back whether or not he tells me it's good or bad. So until then, I guess if you want to, like I said before, you can click on the things I asked Meta AI, or you can play with it. And I think you can be assured Matt Ray will not be using the Meta AI. Is that true, Matt? It sounds like you have no intentions of logging in.
Not currently. Yeah,
Okay.
my my Instagram, I follow. I think I signed it up like 7 or 8 years ago and didn't go back until recently. I have one thing I've added, I think in the last 2 years, and it's I maybe I'll have to make it my recommendation. So
Fantastic.
stick
That's
around, stick
fantastic.
around.
All right. All right, Matt. Well, listen, we did have some listener feedback, which we always appreciate. And Matt, you didn't get a chance. You were out last week. You were out having fun with the family, touching grass, as they say. But we had a little vigorous debate. Mostly Cote had some hot takes on YAML and JSON. So this did make it into the after show. And for those that are like the deep cut, if you go onto the YouTube video, I actually asked Cote a little bit about it in the, if you will, the extended after show. So, but a few people kind of asked the following question. First was, is JSON a subset of YAML? Or they pointed out that it was. So yes, correct, right? JSON is a subset of YAML. And I would say generally people agree with this, although Matt, you chime in and you can disagree how necessary is that. JSON is generally considered something that really only computers should be reading and writing. So validated by that. And then YAML in theory is the nice human readable version. It includes comments, which is what Cote was sort of talking about. It doesn't have the braces. Wherever you come down on that, like the braces, don't like the braces, and that generally, if you're messing with JSON, you should be using a tool, like whether a really good IDE, not even a good IDE, just any IDE, something along those lines. And if you're writing it,
just JQ, that's all.
Yeah, and if you're writing it, you should probably be in YAML. I don't know, Matt. Like what are your thoughts? You got anything here? You can steer us the right way.
Can I hate on both?
I guess, but it seems like at some point we have you. I guess there's going to be a config file at some point. Now, and again, I'm not. No one here is defending Cote's opinion about XML. He's on an island. He's on XML island by himself. So
send him to that
we're not
island.
even. He said that last week. I'm going to leave that comment with him. But what are your thoughts on JSON and YAML?
Well, I like the appearance of YAML. It always looks like it should be easier to use, but inevitably you get a space in there that's wrong, or you can't remember if you're using hyphens or brackets. It just kind of falls apart. So and then of course the exact same thing happens with JSON. You're like, oh, what was that? Is this a curly bracket here? Is it a square bracket? Am I supposed to quote? So that's why I kind of hit on both. I don't really, I guess, at the end of the day, I probably become more familiar with or more comfortable with JSON because it feels like that's the lingua franca of most programming these days. Every time I start coding, I kind of remember like, oh God, I'm just a JSON engineer at this point. So yeah, I guess I fall in favor of JSON.
Well, where do you come down on this idea that because I was kind of reading up a little bit, do you believe that really JSON is something computers are supposed to be reading, writing? Because I feel like even when I want to do minor stuff in my little hobbyist world, it's like Visual Studio is a good example. It's like, well, open up the JSON file, make an edit, right? I mean, it tells you to do it. It's like they're not telling you use the YAML file. I don't even think there is a YAML file. I don't even know if there is. I don't know where it is. So is that just a theory that that's like an academic theory, but in theory, it's like, everybody is told to edit a JSON file, even if you have no idea what you're doing. They're like, yeah, I got to edit this file here. Change the parameter from yes to no. Is that true? Am I misusing these things?
Well, the whole Kubernetes ecosystem is based off YAML. So, you're going to touch YAML probably, but eventually it turns into JSON.
Well, no, let's stipulate you're going to touch YAML. The question is is it reasonable to say you're not going to touch JSON, that you're going to leave JSON to the computers? Or is that even that seems a little naive?
That's naive. That's wishful thinking.
Okay. So it really just comes down to do you like dealing with braces or do you like dealing with spaces and not tabs? Right. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing, right?
Spaces or braces. Yeah.
Yeah. Space. That's exactly spaces or braces. I don't know. And maybe this is someone can send in what is the deal? Why did YAML become so pedantic about these spaces? Was it done by the Python people? Were they like, you know what? We're going to first we did this to Python. Now we're going to do it with the YAML. Like why? Like what's wrong with the tab here and there? Like what the hell?
Oh
Why?
God, don't
Why?
bring
Why?
tabs into this.
Why does the whole system have to break down with a tab? You know, it doesn't feel like that. It's that big a deal to me. What am I missing?
Don't bring tabs into this. They're just
Okay.
just don't use tabs. Just stick with spaces, and that way we don't ever have to wonder what we're looking at.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, there you have it. We've definitively solved it. YAML JSON. There's absolutely no other opinions anyone has. I'm sure no one will comment on it. But listen, if you've enjoyed the YAML talk, that means is you need a sticker. That means you should send your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. I will be happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world. The sticker will not have a JSON file. It will not require any configuration. You can just paste it, or if you will, put it on anything that you want. And during the summer, I always recommend your bicycles, as well as like your tumblers or the things that you take to the beach, or of course your computers. Now, if you would like to see people in person, we have some opportunities for you. There's KCD Texas, so that's a Kubernetes day coming here in Austin, Texas, May 15th. Cote's co-host Whitney Lee will be speaking. I may even make my way down there. Maybe I'll go down there and see what's going on. So if you're going to be there, find us in the Slack. Maybe we can figure out something fun to do. Cote is going to be out at Cloud Foundry Day in the US. That's May 14th. That's in Palo Alto. So you can hear him talk. And there's a free AI workshop on May 13th. And then he'll return back to Europe, and he'll be going to Oslo. So you can find him there as well. Matt, you got any conferences? Are you going anywhere exciting that I should know about?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be going to Wiz's first community meetup in APAC, May 13th in Melbourne. So I'll put that in the.
All right, we should put it in there. Like, are they going to have the whole Blockbuster video store kind of thing going, or probably not? It's probably not big enough for that event, right?
Probably going to be fairly low key, but I plan on going.
Wiz,
I'm not presenting or anything.
I was gonna say Wiz marketing's pretty good. They could show up with puppies. You never know. They could do something fun. They could do something fun, or a Broadway show, right? So yeah, it's been a few weeks. What's going on, Wiz marketing? I haven't seen like I don't know what you're doing next, but I'm waiting for it. So
I'd love to hear it.
All right, Matt. Well, as you're preparing to go to the first conference, is there anything you want to recommend that people should think about?
Well, I've got a pair of recommendations. So I was out the last, I guess, 2 episodes. I got to go visit some folks back in Austin. But while I was there, I went and saw Soul Coughing, a band that's been around for a while. They broke up, they reformed. So they also put together a live album that just came out. So I'll drop a link to that. It's really good. The show was really good. If you have a chance, go catch them on tour. And then, as I kind of hinted at, I'm not, an Instagram user, but there is one thing that I have followed, and it is the Cooking with Beagles link. As the owner of a partial beagle, half beagle, it is just insanely funny to me because the guy tries to cook, tries to make food while 2 beagles attack his prep area. So that's all you need. That's my style of humor.
I like it. I like that's your Instagram file. That link is in the show notes if you would like to check it out. My recommendation, much simpler. I didn't have anything really exciting, but like my AirPods, they're getting a little crusty, and then sometimes it's like hard for them to actually recharge in the thing because it needs to be cleaned. And like, you know what? It's yet another reason to buy another tool. So I ended up buying a very overpriced but simple AirPod cleaner kit that has like both, if you will, tools that let me clean both the earbud as well as the case. So if you're trying to keep your earbuds, if you will, clean and charged, then you need a little help, you can use the AirPod cleaner kit. Now, if you would like to see more about the show and hear more about the show, you should go visit the show notes where we list everything that we talked about and many things we didn't. So you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com. It's /517 because that's the if you will, the number of this episode. Also, if you're a super fan, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel where you get the raw, uncut. Believe it or not, you may not believe it, this show is actually edited because if you actually watch this entire thing on YouTube video, sometimes you'll see Matt's dog. Sometimes you'll hear Matt's dog. You'll see the internet go out. You'll see Matt just leave in the middle of the show to like go talk to his wife. There's like all kinds of exciting things to do. And if you actually join us live, so the way you can know we're live is you can obviously subscribe to our channels or you could get into the Slack. also available at softwaredefinedtalk.com. Just hit Slack, and we always post when we're on there. And we have a nice group of people in here that keep us honest. Sometimes they ask us questions, or they tell us when we got things mistake, and they have their own little chat going throughout the show. So those are all things that you can do. Now, with that, I would like to thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Bye.
All right, I'll turn my video back on for the after show because, can't make it. It seems like it's maybe the
Looks
internet's
great.
working. Maybe the internet's working, maybe not. So
the sound synced with the video. It's all good.
thank you, Brett. Brett really thinks I look good. Well, thank you very much. So I don't know. I don't know what to. I don't know if it's the internet. I'm just gonna blame. As always, I just blame Spectrum, my provider. So who knows?
No Google Fiber yet.
Not yet. As those that were listening during the interlude while you were off, what were you doing, Matt? You should tell us all when you're off camera. Reveal to the audience what exciting thing was happening.
My wife has a migraine, and I had to go get the groceries.
There you go. That's Matt is always working two things. He's always multiple things happening. So that's you're a good husband, good father, and a good podcaster. Yeah. So. All right. Well, listen, I want to thank everyone for hanging in there. I know we had a little hiccup with the video, but I think we made it through. Hopefully the sound was good. We will likely be recording next week around this time. So please join back. And with that, we will talk to you next time.